Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ararat Eskejian Museum event this evening. We're glad you're all here. If you have a cell phone, please at this time put it on vibrate. My name is Martin Eskejian. I'm the chairman of the Ararat Eskejian Museum, and this program is, I'm sure, put together by Maggie and Nasser. And just let you know that the museum is supported only by donations, so if you'd like to donate, we'd gladly take that, and the same thing for Nasser. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Rupin from Nasser to introduce the speaker.
I'd also like to welcome you to today's event. I'm going to start off by saying a few words about the two sponsoring organizations, then a brief biography of Professor Levon Chukasian. The National Association for Armenian Studies and Research promotes scholarship, research, and publications since March of 1955. Last year it celebrated its 60th anniversary. It endowed the first chairs of Armenian Studies at Harvard and UCLA. In 2016 it sponsored 46 academic programs, including 15 in Southern California. NASR provides grants and financial aid to scholars. 20 grants were funded between September 2015 and May 2016, including to Taner Akhjam, Khachik Muradian, and Imad Kurt, and to many lesser-known and newer scholars. NASR owns the Mardigian Library of over 27,000 books, and it's currently transforming its headquarters into a global Armenian center connecting scholars of Armenian studies and the public. NASR is a top distributor of Armenian topic books in the English language, including via the NASR online bookstore. And NASR owns the Armenian Heritage Press, which publishes important scholarly works. NASR publishes the Journal of Armenian Studies, and it publishes a newsletter, and the PDFs are available online. You could like NASR on Facebook to keep up to date with all NASR programs, or you could sign the NASR email distribution list in the back of the room. NASR has partnerships with the Ararat Eskejian Museum for the past 10 years, with the Kalus Gulbenkian Foundation for the Contemporary Lecture Series, and with the Knights of Vartan for the Armenian Studies grants. The Ararat Eskejian Museum was created to enrich, inspire, and educate the community through display of artwork, exhibits, and programs featuring history and the cultural heritage of the Armenian people, and it is associated with the Ararat Home of Los Angeles. The Ararat Eskejian Museum grew its collection. In February 2017, it's going to show the newly acquired 105 copper and silver Keshishin collection, and also it hit a milestone on November 20th, 2016, when it hosted its 250th event since the beginning of its cultural education program. Also, the Ararat Eskejian Museum has been busy digitizing the archives of Professor Vahakan Dadrian, and that project was finished in 2016, and it's going to be available online soon for use by scholars and independent researchers. Now I'll start talking about the keynote speaker, Professor Levon Chukasian. In 2001, he received a Doctor of Art degree from the Ministry of Culture of Russia. His dissertation was The Art of Taurus Roslin in the context of the cultural relations of Cilician Armenia of the 13th century. In 1982, he received a Candidate of Art degree from the Institute of Art of the Academy of Sciences of Georgia. His dissertation was The Art of the 13th Century Armenian Painter Grigor Kalkov. He's also received training at the State Hermitage Museum in Leningrad and the Moscow State University. He received his preliminary education, his undergraduate degree, and his postgraduate work at Yerevan State University. Most of Professor Levon Chukasian's experience has been at Yerevan State University. He's worked there for 39 years, and when you add the number of years he was there getting his education, 48 years. So it's a very long time. He started as a fellow, and then a professor, then the fellow of the Armenological Studies Center, and he currently is the director of the UNESCO Chair of Armenian Art History. He's also been a professor at the Polytechnic Institute of Yerevan and at the Institute of Art and Theater. He also was a contributor to the Armenian State Television and Radio between 1979 and 1993, and since 1991 he's been advisor on culture to the Prime Minister of Armenia. The professor was a visiting professor at the Central European University in Budapest, Hungary in 2011, and he organized the International Field Studies in Armenia with cooperation of Glendale Community College in 2007 and 2005. He also was a visiting professor at Fresno State University, where his main lecture there was the Armenian Massacres and Genocide Reflected in Armenian Art of the 19th to 20th centuries. And he was a visiting professor at UCLA, where his main topic for discussion was the medieval Armenian manuscript, illumination, Armenian painting of the 17th to 20th centuries. He speaks 7 languages, and he's got several professional memberships and honors. I'll note only 2 of them. He's been a member of the Society of Armenian Studies since 2002, and most recently, in 2015, he was accepted to the Academy of Sciences of Milan in Italy. He published a 10-page, 15 pages worth of references article in the Nasser Journal of Armenian Studies in 2001, and it was on the portrait of Prince Levon and Princess Keran. And here's a picture of the manuscript that he talked about. And he published a book in 2011 about Arshak Fetbadjian, and this book is currently on sale in the back of the room if you're interested. And that was in 2011 that came out, and several years later, in 2006, both the Central Bank of Armenia and High Post issued commemorative coins and stamps for Arshak Fetbadjian. He's lectured extensively in Southern California. The most recent lectures have been about the Armenians of the Crimea and Romania as seen through their art, Armenian massacres, liberation struggle, genocide, and Armenian painters, the life and art of Arshak Fetbadjian, treasures saved from the genocide, and Armenian merchants of Isfahan and dissemination of art. And his first lecture at our Nasser headquarters was in 1994, and he's been coming fairly frequently since then. Now, without any further delay, I'd like to present Professor Levon Chukasyan for the keynote speech.
Thank you very much for such a detailed biography. I have learned several things about myself. Long ago, many things that had happened long ago suddenly came on the screen. And thank you to Ruben Berberian for this detailed presentation. And I want to express my thanks to National Association of Armenian Studies and Research, where, as you have seen, I have lectured many times, and also Ararat Eskijian Museum administration, Ararat Home administration, for this excellent possibility to deliver lectures here, and this lecture particularly. And especially, I am very grateful to Magi Mangasaryan Goshin, who is doing this work from year to year, already many years, and it's a great impact in popularization of Armenian studies, of Armenian history, Armenology, Armenian culture, art, and etc. So, the topic of today's lecture is the Silk Road and Armenian textiles throughout the centuries. And usually when we are hearing about Silk Road and hear the news about different projects that are today currently are started by China and various cooperation of other countries in this project, we are not very much satisfied that Armenia is out of all these projects, and many times I have observed that Georgia is more mentioned in the Kojanov Silk Road project than Armenia, when we know that especially Armenian merchants were very active on Silk Road for centuries, and also the archaeological evidence of the involvement of Armenia in the developing system of Pan-Asian exchange of goods can be traced to the 3rd millennium before Christ. And goods destined for the Near East from Central and Southeastern Asia passed through Armenia to be taken in Western Asia Minor, the Balkans, and the North Caucasian passes and beyond. These routes served as the beginning of the Great Silk Road, and Great Silk Road was also possibility of cultural dialogue between different nations, different cultures, different countries, and Armenians were particularly active, and for centuries they were using these roads, and even there are descriptions of certain roads and conditions of countries through which they were passing, traditions of countries, and Armenian merchants were keeping their diaries and even creating treatises, especially we have in Materadara, Yerevan, a treatise of 12th century, which is describing the cities of India. And this is one of the major sources for exploration of Armenian-Indian relations, but Armenians in already 14th century even established Armenian church, Christian church in China. The opening of the road in the 130s before Christ, after the successful mission of Zhang, the ambassador of the Chinese emperor to the palace of Parthian monarchs, coincided with the period of political and economic rise of Armenian kingdom under Tigran the Great. This is between 95 and 55 before Christ. And through all these difficulties and occupations of different foreigners during the foreign yokes, even the merchants were very active, and even during wars, always the merchants were doing their trade, going from one country to the others, and they were arriving to China, selling goods there, and then carrying the different things from China, different goods to other countries. So these routes served even for European travelers. We know that Marco Polo in 13th century, he went to China, and he became a link, he became an intermediary between East and West, and I am pretty sure that among those people who were accompanying him were also Armenians, who were very much familiar with conditions or traditions of different countries, and we see sympathy of, not only sympathy, but admiration of Marco Polo for Armenian carpets. He is describing, for instance, the famous carpets of Garin, and he is enchained by the beauty of these carpets. And later on, we see that these carpets appear in the works of foreign painters. We see them in the works of Italian Renaissance, we see in Dutch painting, we see in 15th, 16th, 17th centuries, different specimen of Armenian carpets, Armenian textiles. And for Europeans, it was absolutely odd to see that the Eastern people and Oriental people, and not only those who were in China, but also even in Armenia, that they were always wearing silk, and even different shepherds in the mountains, they were wearing silk, which was quite expensive in Europe. And we know that also other evidences exist about beauty and charm of Armenian carpets, Armenian textiles, and there are descriptions of Arab travelers, and all these evidences, they testify about high quality of textile production, carpet production in Armenia. Unfortunately, very old specimen for Armenian textiles and carpets didn't survive from 10th, 11th, and later centuries. Only from 17th centuries we have 17th century we have the oldest Armenian carpet. But let's pay attention to the fact that thousands and thousands of Armenian manuscripts they have preserved inside of leather binding specimen of Armenian textiles. There are not very big pieces, small pieces, because usually so those pieces of textiles, which are ornamented textiles with very rich ornaments in different colors, and they are giving evidences about not only local production of textiles, but also about the those that were exported to Armenia. Now you are observing one of those caravanserais that exist on the territory of present Armenia. And these are kind of hotels that were on the road of merchants, and those caravans that were spending night in these hotels or caravanserais, these caravans, they were leaving those places early in the morning, and all the caravanserais were built on such distance from each other, which was enough for caravans to leave early in the morning with rising of sun and arriving to other caravanserai before sunset. So that's why these caravanserais are on road, and they were familiar to merchants, they were familiar to travelers, and they were giving a chance to have a rest during the night, and also to escape the dangers on the road, because there were numerous, bandits who were ready to kill the travelers, to kill the merchants, and to steal their goods. So these people were risk takers. They were armed. They were with their bodyguards, traveling with bodyguards, the merchants, and brave people who were able to carry difficulties of long way, and who were changing their time zones, and their biorhythms also were under burden. They were trying to escape difficulties. They were fluent in many languages. They were familiar with traditions of different nations. They were able to make connections and to find partners. Were able to make friends, and so in this way they were earning their money. In this way they were spending their life. And the other, you can see that these caravanserais, they are partly destroyed, because when the civil buildings are not used, so then it is step by step places, like in the case of Karvansaray, sponsored by Prince Cesar Orbeian, you can see that it is also decorated with reliefs. And with the start of emigration to Mediterranean sea coast, already during the second half of 11th century, after Turkish Seljuks invaded central Armenia, when the Armenians started to mass emigration to Mediterranean seashore, and after a century they have succeeded to establish Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia in 1198. They have used also their own ships. Of course, Armenian merchants were possessing their ships, and their ships also were attacked by pirates. But during the period of existence of Cilician Kingdom, Armenian Kingdom started negotiations with Genoese, Venetian republics to stop the attacks of pirates of Mediterranean Sea, attacks on ships of Armenia. And also inside of Cilicia, they were organized special communities of Italians, and also crusaders were active here. So the communities that of Europeans that were established and organized in Cilicia, they were kind of bridge also between Europe and between Armenians. And even Marco Polo himself, he passed through Cilician seaports. One of the oldest textiles, silk cloth, which is preserved inside of binding, of one of Yerevan manuscripts, is dated by 10th, 11th century, and this is silk cloth which is decorated with two peacocks, and these peacocks are inside of medallions, which is traditional for so-called Sasanian textiles, but that doesn't mean that Sasanian textiles were originated in Iran. This is just a term, a scholarly term, that experts they have created for description of numerous textiles that were found on the territory between Germany and also Byzantine Empire, and those kind of clothes were also found in Egypt, in Iran, but this type of textiles entered into scholarly circulation under this name, Sasanian type textiles. But here is something also which bridges these textiles with Sasanian art, with Iranian art. These are rings in the mouths of these peacocks. These are royal rings. This is a symbol of royal power. We can see in sculptures, very old Iranian sculptures, that the god is giving this ring to Iranian king, and we can observe this kind of things also in our sculptures. So this is a map of travels of Marco Polo. You can see how he used the territory of Armenia and of other countries. And due to certain portraits, royal portraits, and not only royal, but certain portraits of real people that were portrayed in Armenian manuscripts as miniatures, due to this legacy, we can have another source of exploration of Armenian textiles. And now I am showing the portrait of King Gagik Bagratuni, King Gagik of Kars, and he is represented here with his wife Goranduht, and in the middle of Gagik and Goranduht is portrayed their daughter Marem. We can see that the vestment of Gagik is decorated with unicorn, which is included in medallions, and also they are sitting on a throne, large throne, which was traditional for the thrones of kings, not only in Armenia but also in Iran, or later even in Ottoman. They are Ottoman also thrones, and that are so big that several, not several people, but queen and king, even their daughter, can also feel comfortable then on those thrones. And here the throne is covered with another carpet or textile, which is also decorated with medallions. Inside of medallions, one can see elephants. And this is direct indication of connections with India. And this kind of royal vestments or heraldic vestments are not many, but we have also the vestments of different citizens, merchants, clergy, and for example, here we observe a miniature from so-called Hachpat Gospel of 1211. The painter Marcare, he represented here two people, those who were citizens of Ani, and this manuscript is copied and illustrated near Ani, and later when it was transported to Hachpat Monastery and afterwards entered to collection of Ecmeadzin Library and later to Matenadaran collection, so scholars called it Hachpat Gospel, but it is originating from Ani, one of rare examples of book illumination of Ani. They are destroying my lecture. So these people who are exposed there, they are wearing the dress of citizens of Ani, and it is a very rare evidence about the costumes of people of Ani, but still we are happy that we have this small evidence. And there are other manuscripts also that originate from Ani, and soon I hope that they will return my computer and I will show you. So people of Ani, they were at the beginning of 13th century, they were dressed up according to the fashions of that period, and these fashions were not only connected with traditions of Armenians but also traditions of Georgians, because at the end of 12th century Armenian Georgian joint troops under the leadership of Zakharid princes, they have succeeded to liberate this part of Armenia and defeated Seljuks and pushed them in direction of Asia Minor. Later, of course, Mongols came and divided Ani and other areas neighboring Ani. But before Mongols yoke, Mongol yoke, Armenians in Ani and in neighboring regions were governed by joint Armenian-Georgian forces. So when we compare the costumes of Georgians of this period, of beginning of 13th century, and of those of Armenians of same period, there are certain similarities. But afterwards, we see that local other traditions are continuing to In Armenian book illumination, during centuries, they are preserved numerous images of different people, and in different regions of Armenia, they were wearing specific costumes. So the fashions, traditions, decoration was different. And Armenians lived in this way for centuries, in this with this conservative taste, till beginning of the 20th century. And with genocide, we have lost these local traditions, because especially refugees from Van Lake area, from Mush, Sasun, from Bitlis and other places, they have escaped from Turks, not having all their vestments, only what they were able to carry with them. And during those years of genocide period between 1915 and 1923, so with the massacres, with mass killings of Armenian people, we lost also our part of our culture. We lost songs, we lost traditions of kitchen, we have lost the oral history, we have lost artworks, and it's horrible damage to our culture. And now I can bring to your attention another manuscript from Ani. This is illustrated by painter Ignatios, who was active inside of Ani in neighboring regions, in neighboring monasteries. And this manuscript is preserved in Isfahan. Today it is part of a collection of All Savers Monastery in Isfahan. And it is representing here sponsor of manuscript, Barnavor, and his wife, Dradikin, and above them is represented Evangelist Mark, who is writing his Gospel. Here we can observe the details of costumes of these married couples, and one can conclude that the merchant is more lavishly dressed up than his wife. Maybe because he was traveling and having the chance to purchase those kind of vestments in West or East. And with royal imagery, that we have due to certain portraits of King Levon II, we can have some comprehension about the traditions of royal dresses, and especially heraldic dresses. It is unusual case that Levon II was portrayed several times during his life, and we can't bring another examples, parallels, find another artworks which are portraying kings, a certain king in Italian art, in French art, in Spanish art of this period, in Byzantine art. They don't exist such examples. This is a rare case in the history of art of Mediterranean area, that the same king is represented several times during his life. And first portrait that have come down to us, miraculously have come down, all these portraits. Because if we have 5 portraits that survived, that doesn't mean that only 5 portraits were created by painters, 5 portraits of the same king. maybe 7, maybe 8, maybe 10, we don't know. But we are lucky that we have 5 portraits of King Levon. And first portrait is representing him as a teenager. We know that he was born in 1236, so we can assume that he is here about when he was 15 or 14, and so that this is illustrated in 1250, 1251, and his coat is made in accordance with Byzantine art, and the dress itself is carrying medallions, and there is lion and sun and moon and stars. He is represented like a saint. He has a halo, and he has a branch of tree in his hand, which is also mentioning that he is considered as a saint. And our kings were portrayed in this way, with halos. We can see also in the reliefs of Ahtamar, Holy Cross Church, King Gagik Arsuni with halo. We can observe other examples also. So Prince Levon's dress is heraldic here, and it is connected with his coat of arms of Bagratid. He is originating from Bagratid family, from his mother's side. And maybe painter who is supposed to be Toros Roslin, #1 painter of medieval Armenia, perhaps painter represented him with this dress, with this coat of arms, to mention that he has hereditary right to be a king of Cilicia, because in accordance of traditions of Armenian court, the throne was inherited only by son of king, and he is son of daughter of king. His mother Zabel was daughter of Levon Magnificent, and Levon Magnificent, or Levon First, he had no male child. So perhaps this is made with special intention, this portrait. Even the cloth which is on his throne or his bench, it is of white color, and it is showing his purity. Only Virgin Mary was represented like that. And here are 2 angels above his head, and presence of angels also indicating about that he is considered as a saint. Second portrait also represents him with this heraldic dress, and he is represented with his wife Keran. The manuscript is dated by 1262. It is signed by Toros Roslin. We have his name in colophons of manuscript, and it's interesting example of traditions of royal court. Levon and Keran are carrying crowns, but Levon is this year, 1262, he is not yet king of Cilicia. Only after 9 years he will become king of Cilicia. So these crowns are marriage crowns, and his dress is illustrated, decorated by medallions, and there is lion, but you can see that the coat is closing all those parts that were perhaps presenting sun and lion, sun and moon, sorry. And even the coat is decorated with medallions. Inside of medallions there is a sirens, there are sirens or harpies with human heads and body of bird. Keran is also with interesting decoration. His vestments are also with interesting decoration. Also the harpies are decorating dress. And similar textiles we can see in different manuscripts illustrated by Toros Roslin. In this Sebastian Gospel of 1262, that is part of Walter's Art Museum collection, we can see also a piece of textile in this composition. Again, with the image of harpy, decorated with image of harpy. And with Mongol yoke, Armenians found the allies, Armenians of Cilicia. But Armenians of northern Armenia, they were suffering from taxes and from this yoke. And King Hetum I, father of Levon II, he went to Karakorum, to the residence of great Mongol Khan in 1254, and you can see all this Mongol empire, how it is occupying almost half of the world. And he made this trip disguised with his bodyguards, that the enemies will not recognize him. He went to Karakorum with different gifts, and he came with other gifts. He returned from other gifts. But I'm pretty sure that he used those routes that the Armenian merchants were going to the Karakorum, and it was Silk Road. Third portrait of King Levon is in better state of conservation. You can see that the face of Levon is very well preserved, not like in previous two portraits. And they are all family. It's not all family, because numerous children were born in this family, about 16 children, that they died immediately after their birth or during their infancy. So here we can see King Levon, next to him future King Hetum II, and then another two sons and two daughters. And this composition is created according to Byzantine iconography. This is so-called intercession, subject of intercession, or as it is used in scholarly literature, it is Deisis composition. When Virgin Mary and John the Baptist, they are intercessing for salvation of souls of royal family, and they are intercessing before Christ, who is sitting on his throne, and as a sign of special patronage or grace from his throne, 7 rays are descending on members of family. King Levon is dressed in accordance with Byzantine and European. It is mixed fashion. The coats, they are created in accordance with Western fashion, because you can see that inside of coats are you can see that these coats are made with furs of squirrels, and it is in accordance with traditions of Italian and French nobility of this period. queen, they are in accordance with Byzantine tradition. These are gifts from Byzantine courts, because they were even relatives with Byzantine emperors. One of daughters later married Byzantine emperor. And here even crowns are Byzantine. And perhaps this is crown that Emperor Alexius I, he sent to Levon Magnificent when he was crowned as a king of Cilicia in 1198. Here you can observe the specific details of their dress, and the faces are very well preserved, as I have mentioned. And next portrait that I am showing you, this is a portrait of Archbishop Hovhannes, who was uncle of Levon II, who was archbishop, who was painter, who was scribe, who has copied numerous manuscripts, but he is represented here as the archbishop, one of his several portraits. He was also portrayed several times during his life. We have 3 portraits of this archbishop, and his vestment is decorated with Chinese dragon. And this Chinese dragon is originating from China, and it came through the Silk Road, and we know that brother Prince Vasak went to Karakorum with gifts, and maybe he brought this piece of dress for his brother. There is descent from the cross in one of manuscripts illustrated by another great painter, Sarkis Pitrak. And after Toros Roslin, this is second well-known painter of Cilicia. About 60 manuscripts survived that are illustrated by him, of course by the help of his assistants. And here we can see Queen Mariun, who is in her royal dress, and we owe to Sarkis Pitrak for numerous examples of textiles. He is demonstrating numerous people on the margins of his manuscripts, and not only in margins, also he's including them in certain compositions, full-page illustrations, and numerous examples that are included in a book of Father Vartan Hasuni, devoted to Armenian costume, are borrowed from the manuscripts of Sarkis Pitrak. There are examples of Armenian dresses that are preserved also in miniatures created in other regions of Armenia. This is from so-called Glazor Gospel of UCLA collection, which was exposed several times, not only in Los Angeles, but also in New York. And here, Virgin Mary is in Annunciation composition. She's dressed up like a queen. Her dress is lavishly decorated with ornament, and more simple ornaments decorate the dresses of peasants from different villages of Vaspurakan area. And there are thousands of manuscripts that survived from Vaspurakan from 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th centuries. And there are people who are merchants or simple peasants, women and men, that are portrayed in their everyday costume, like here. And very interesting examples of women who are weaving are preserved on grave stones in top sculpture of Isfahan, in especially Saint Bethlehem Church graveyard. There are numerous of them, and you can observe these women during the process of weaving with their instruments, and this is unusual legacy. This is richness of Armenian art. It is very sad to say that we know perhaps 50% of Armenian art, of our art legacy. 50%, because the other 50% perhaps is in different storages of different museums in various countries, and sometimes the people who are responsible, curators, they don't know what they are having at their disposal. They are not experts of Armenian art. They don't know Armenian language. They can't read inscriptions which are on these artworks. And it is very difficult to explore all this legacy because it is scattered. It is necessary to establish friendly relations with curators, to make them sure that you are not going to destroy, that they have preserved many years, that you just want to be accurate with these pieces to see what is it and to explore it. And those which are in graveyard of Saint Bethlehem Church, they are recently put in circulation, but even not published, which is very sad. And all this is showing people who were active in textile production. These were simple people who were working every day and earning their piece of bread and cup of tea. And unknown sculptors created all this, and we owe to these sculptors for such legacy. I don't know even if other nations, do they have such a documentation about their art or not. But this must be explored meticulously, and again I return to those textiles that are preserved in bindings of our manuscripts. But I am showing you only several examples of textiles that are in bindings of Yerevan manuscripts, Yerevan collection, manuscripts of Yerevan collection. But who is exploring thousands of manuscripts in United States libraries and museums? Who is exploring them in Europe? It is we need an army of scholars who will be able to penetrate these museums and to see what was pillaged from Armenian art, what is preserved in other countries. And only those pieces which are very well known due to some publications, now I can bring to your attention. But there are thousands of these examples. And this is very interesting piece because it is carrying Armenian letters. It is written Jesus Christos, Jesus Christ. So it is indicating local production, production of textiles inside of Armenia. When we are attracted by beauty of Armenian miniatures, many times we don't pay attention on the pieces of these small textiles that are testifying about tastes of people of Armenia. These are remnants of their dresses, the remnants of their vestments that the copies or binders have used for their manuscripts. There are certain Persian, certain Arabic, certain Chinese examples that are preserved inside of manuscripts. And this is an interesting tombstone of Merchant Frangul or Hoja Frangul of 1715. He is represented here with his ship, because Armenian merchants of Isfahan, they were traveling in Indian Ocean and selling goods in Singapore, buying gold and silver from Spanish Spanish people who were unable to bring that to Europe because their ships were attacked by French, English, and Dutch enemies, and so they started to bring that through Pacific to Singapore and Philippines, and Armenians were coming with their own ships, buying silver and gold, and then entering China and India, selling there. And this is Hoja Frank Jul and his ship, and even you can see there are banners, and also there are otters. This is another ship on one of gravestones, and this is a copy of it, of another gravestone made by Iranian painter Abraham Gurgenyan. This is also his work. By the way, numerous copies of these gravestones of Isfahan made by Abraham Gurgenyan, late Professor Aveti Stanjan showed me in his chair, in his room, the beginning of 90s. He wanted to know what is that, and I said that it's Abraham Gurgenyan copied gravestones of Isfahan, and now I don't know where are these numerous illustrations. They were big pieces because they are exact copies of gravestones, and part of this collection are donated to Venice San Lazzaro Mechitaris, the other part to Echmeadzin Cathedral, to Catholicos Vazgen first. And this is an Indian altar curtain representing sheep and its owner, Madras Armenian, Moses Harutyun, and so this is part of Jerusalem Patriarchate's collection, and it is painted in 1811. You can see the details of sheep, you can see the banner, you can see the owners, and in different collections, in different museums, as I have mentioned, there are examples of Armenian textiles. In Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, there is some collection of these dresses, Armenian dresses from silk. Probably this is from Isfahan, and this is in the Victoria and Albert Museum. It is originating from Isfahan also. And costume from Sebastia area, very beautiful one. All are of 19th century. But imagine that all these pieces were, similar pieces, 1,000 pieces were destroyed. And it's necessary to gather one by one what was preserved to somehow recreate this panorama of the production and those traditions. This is the culture of our mothers and grandfathers, so it's necessary to be more attentive to that. Sometimes usually we are living without thinking about all these things. We are living with our everyday life, and we absolutely don't think how were dressed our ancestors, how they were, with what kind of taste they were created their dresses. And step by step we are forgetting from where we are originating. Step by step we are losing our identity. I'm not talking about Armenians inside of America. I'm talking even about Armenians inside of Armenia. And these are portraits made by famous painter Harbokov Natanyan. That also gives some comprehension about tastes of Tiflis ladies, Armenian ladies who were living in Tiflis, not Georgia, Tbilisi, as we call it, as they call it today. So it's possible to bring to your attention numerous other examples, but it's just a chance for me to give you some small panorama, some small information about this huge material, about an ocean of documentation that is still waiting its explorer.
Georgian home. I don't know what happened because we personally knew him. And I was frequently going and seeing him out. I don't know what happened because he had a lot of copies, as you mentioned, inside his room, beneath the bed and everywhere. Maybe we have to think about this. I think we have.
I think his nephew took them. I believe his nephew took them.
So,
My
I
mother,
mean,
some of the stuff is some of the stuff is in the V&A museum in a vault.
Where?
In a vault, in the Victoria and Albert Museum in England. But it's in a vault. My mom went and asked and we saw some of the stuff there.
As I said, it is scattered in different places.
Yeah.
Even I have seen some pieces in Budapest Armenian Catholic Church among paintings of other Armenian painters. Yes, please.
I'm interested in the silk pieces that were used for fighting. Can we assume that they were always after the fact? I mean, they were used later? And I'm particularly interested in the sustainment. Do we know where that was manufactured or where it was produced?
It's difficult to say, but as you have seen, similar decorations one can observe investments of King Agikov cars, and that specific manuscript that I have showed, that binding of that manuscript, it belonged to Mkhitar Ghosh, who lived at the end of 12th century and beginning of 13th century. So if the textile is dated by 10th, 11th centuries, it decorated manuscript which became property of Mkhitar Ghosh, famous author of fables and canons, laws.
Mr. Chukasyan, thank you for the lecture, and I would like to know about these works, if you can elaborate and tell us who does this work and how can we obtain it, so forth, so on.
You mean
As far as whatever
these are
yes.
reproductions of Armenian miniatures of Middle Age manuscripts, and they are from different, they are exposing artwork of different regions of Armenia. And this is a group of painters.
You just speak to the microphone.
This is a group of painters who were working under my guidance, and after several years they have stopped this work because some emigrated to other countries, and then there was no any more possibility to work because it's a lot of tension for eye. There are numerous details, so these are just last ones that I have at my possession. You can purchase it if you are interested in Armenian art, traditional art.
This is a different question. Could you say what were the prominent towns in Armenia that were along the Silk Road? Were there any more prominent towns that
Your voice is disappearing.
Okay, I beg your pardon. Were there any prominent towns in Armenia that were along the Silk Road that were more prominent than other towns?
As I mentioned, Karin was very much famous for its carpets. Even Arabs, they were calling it Kali, and so the word Kali is originating, according to certain scholars, originating from word Karin. Karin was very famous, but also carpets of Sebastia and other places also were very famous.
Thank you.
Artsakh, Karabakh is very famous for its carpets, and so you have to pay attention to the fact that they were using special dyes for coloring Armenian carpets, and production of dyes in Armenia was very famous due to use of kirmis or cochineal color. It was used for book illumination, but the technology of coloring of Armenian textiles is not very much explored. Technology of coloring Armenian miniatures is very well explored due to some American scholars, especially Tom Matthews and experts of chemistry, who were analyzing dyes of Armenian miniatures of different epochs and different regions. But I'm waiting that someday the experts will start to analyze the dyes of Armenian carpets and textiles, and we finally will understand many things connected with Armenian textile and carpet production.
Thank you.
Could you elaborate if the Armenian clay has reached Europe through the Silk Road? The Armenian clay, the distinctive Armenian clay that's been used in gold leafing, under the gold leafing, does that has anything to do with the Silk Road merchants? You haven't explored, you have spoken mostly about the textiles, but what about that unique Armenian clay? Could you elaborate on that, please?
You are talking about the so-called bolus armena, which is bol Armeni or gil Armeni, as Arabs were saying, or gil Armeni. And this is a specific clay, specific bolus, which was used in Armenian medicine, old medicine, and famous doctors like Mahitar Heratsi or Amizdaulat Hamasyatsi, they were using that. And they are mentioning, and this was known to old doctors of Rome. In Dioscorid, in 1st century, is mentioning about bolus armena. And one can observe it even on certain Egyptian artworks. Unfortunately, Armenian scholars don't recognize bolus armena in Armenian artworks. But our Western colleagues, they know it very well. It is coming out of surface of gold. It has a red color. And some Avicenna, Abu Ibn Sina, in Middle Asia, and also Abu Dala Mahari, famous poet in Syria, they are talking about bolus armena. I'm saying about 10th century, 11th century authors. And Leonardo da Vinci is writing about that and using it because it has a quality of gluing, not only gluing, but stopping the bleeding of blood. It is healing wounds. So I'm pretty sure that again, due to merchants, this was going to Europe, and merchants were bringing this bolus armena to drugstores in Europe, and painters were buying from drugstores these components and bringing and working in their workshops. And also they were bringing cobalt or other goods which were necessary sources for different dyes, different colors. And one can observe in European paintings that the colors have great similarity with colors of Armenian artworks. please.
If you explain from the beginning to the end, what was the exact road or what was the exact path that the Silk Road goes from India, from China, starting to Europe? How do they go from Iran, south of Iran, Isfahan, or to north of the Caspian Sea to the Tiflis and over there? What was the exact road of that travel? And if it was, I'm sure that I was thinking that it's only from the land, but I start to realize lately that it is from the ocean also. So what is the exact path of this from the beginning to the end? Thank you.
One path is the path of Marco Polo, but later it was elaborated, and before also certain goods that Armenian merchants were taking from China or Iran or India, they were bringing through Caspian Sea to Astrakhan. From Astrakhan, through the rivers of Russia, they were going to the north. And near Sweden, there is an island called Gotland. In Gotland, they have found a coin struck in Tvin in 6th century. So when they are finding the coins somewhere, the coins are showing also the monetary circulation and the routes of merchants. So not only descriptions in manuscripts, but also coins are indicating the routes of Armenian merchants. For instance, in Kecharis, in Armenian monastery of Kecharis in Tahkador, in inscriptions on the walls, there is mentioned word florin. It's the name of Italian money, florin. How it appeared in Kecharis, on the inscriptions of Kecharis monastery, it's due to merchants. And Jufa merchants from Isfahan in 17th century, we know that Shah Amirian family was very influential, and Shah Amirians established Catholic Church in Isfahan, but they have became the most richest people in Europe in 17th century, and several hotels in Venice, Hotel Danieli, and also Hotel Cadei Conti, they were palaces of Shah-Amirian brothers. The Shah-Amirian brothers were like directing the trade to different countries of Jufa merchants. And in Venice there is Ruga Jufa, or street of Jufa people, Isfahan people. And they were living there. And certain merchants like Gerakava is buried in Armenian Church of Holy Cross inside of Venice. There is his grave. And they were moving to in direction of England, and we know that in 13th century there were certain missionaries in England, and we know even before that 3 priests went to Iceland in 11th century. In Icelandic and British sources are telling about that. But all of them, they were using routes of travelers, of merchants. But also, let's not forget about pilgrims. Pilgrims also, they were using merchants' routes, but they were using also another roads and going to Spain, Santiago de Compostela, for instance, in 15th century, Armenian monk, an Armenian from Armenia, he is going there, Martyros Yazbengatsi. He is going there, trying to take a ship and go to America, and from America to return to Armenia thinking that it is India. And then he is reaching India and then coming back again to Spain because he's understanding that he's confused. So different roads were existing. And we know that there are archives of merchants in Venice and in Genoa, also in Spain. So they were going to different places, these merchants, and bringing goods from China and India to Iran. What about Armenian merchants who were traveling to Poland or other countries? They were bringing so-called Polish carpets, which were decorated with coat of arms of Polish noblemen. They were giving it as, they were corrupting Polish princes, corrupting them. They are records where they are mentioning how many carpets were given as a gift to corrupt this or the other officers, this or the other prince. But Polish king gave privileges to Armenian merchants, and this preserved this document. But still, they were trying to bribe these Polish people, and they were registering that they have given so many carpets to this person, so many carpets to the other person. And they were passing through the Black Sea. They were coming to Iran, taking goods, and through the Black Sea they are moving to Poland and Ukraine and Romania and Hungary. So they were different routes. From Constantinople, they were moving to Europe also. So it's a subject of another lecture.
Let's give a big hand to Dr. Kakadian. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You can also have a chance to get the books of my father, late father, Babken Chukasuzyan, and also my last book on Arshak Fetfajan. The prices are mentioned. Thank you. And also these images, of course. I'm sure that you like that concept about bribing.
My mother used to say that her grandfather was doing business in Ethiopian with the royal family staying something. So she would advertise.
There was a huge community, even the coat of arms inspired by Silesian coat of arms. So there is a very good survey on